Welcome back to Shit Creek Survivors. We believe one thing. We all have a Shit Creek story. It's that moment when life gets overwhelming, the current gets stronger, and you find yourself wondering how you're even going to make it through. But every survivor finds a paddle. Sometimes it's faith, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's community, but more oftentimes it's learning from someone who's already faced the waters you're trying to survive. This week's Shit Creek story is about the hidden struggle millions of people face every day, the challenge of caregiving. Today, I'm joined by Debbie Compton, caregiver advocate, best-selling author, speaker, and founder of the Purple Vine. After leaving her corporate career to care for multiple loved ones through dementia journeys, Debbie experienced the exhaustion, the heartbreak, and the challenges that so many caregivers quietly carry. But through that journey, she found her paddles and turned her struggle into a mission to help others. This is Debbie's Shit Creek story. Debbie, thank you so much for being here on Shit Creek Survivors. If you would, introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here. I am happy anytime I get to share to offer people encouragement, particularly caregivers, because they need it so very
Yeah.
much.
hmm
So much.
Yeah, we were
So,
talking about that before the show. I thought you were such a good fit to come on because a lot of times when you see someone get hurt or they're going through something, you really see the patient, but you don't understand that there's a care team around them that's helping them get through it. And I don't think those caretakers even get any recognition. And I've been guilty of it before too. My whole family circled around me and held me together the whole time and put their lives on hold like many caretakers do. We were talking about that,
yep,
and it's so interesting that, we don't see these people, although they are essential and we are all going to need them at some point to help us in our lives. So
yep,
it's
exactly.
important to acknowledge that these people are doing it. So thank you so much for coming on and giving words to that.
Well, thank you. And I didn't start out to be a caregiver
hmm
like probably 98% of other caregivers.
Yeah.
That's not your game plan. I was in business. I worked for a large company and I was traveling coast to coast.
hmm
My plan was to retire with them and I had been there 15 years. So I was well on the way and life was great. I traveled typically Tuesday through Thursday and then would be home Monday and Friday. Home for me is Oklahoma.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, so I'm right in the center of the US and the team was nationwide.
Okay.
So my mom had vascular dementia, but she was really high functioning. And I did not know enough about the disease to realize what that meant to me. I had a plan in place. I'd fix her medications and things. I had a schedule so that she and dad would go to the daily living center 3 days a week. And that's where they
Yeah.
would come and pick them up, take them there, feed them lunch, bring them back home. So I thought, I got this handled. Everything's
Yeah.
fine. We're doing great.
Yeah.
But that is because I had a lack of education on the diseases. My dad then developed Parkinson's,
Oh,
and
goodness.
he also had macular degeneration. So things rapidly started going downhill.
hmm
And you adjust, and that's what you do as a caregiver. You keep adjusting to whatever new situation you're in and whatever new requirements that your person is going to need.
Yeah.
So I did that, but then, I was on one coast and dad accidentally took mom's pills. Dad had low blood pressure, mom had high blood pressure. So
Oh.
dad's nearly comatose. He's rushed to the hospital. I can't get there quickly because I'm on the coast. And
hmm
then I was on the other coast and my mom passed out at the daily living center and had to be rushed to the hospital. Again, I couldn't quickly get there.
Yeah.
So that causes you to start evaluating and start realizing that we're going to have to make a big adjustment here. So
hmm
we had the family talks and what are we going to do, that sort of thing. And I became a full time caregiver, which I don't regret at all. It
hmm
was a lot of adjustment because
Yeah.
I was a, I made good money, and then all of a sudden I made nothing. And so
Yeah.
that is a huge adjustment for you.
Yeah.
And my identity was also tied into my work, and that was
Mhm.
gone.
Yeah.
So now what I'm doing was so much harder than managing a team nationwide, taking care of my parents with 2 different forms of dementia, and, my dad's exceedingly stubborn, and so he did not wanna move out of his house, he would not move in with me. He wouldn't he wasn't gonna stay anywhere, he's gonna stay in his home, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, at least I had moved them a couple of years prior to where they were only a couple of miles from me. And so I would travel to their house multiple times a day, making
Hmm.
sure everything was okay and they had meals and all that. And then after a while, that got to where that's not doable anymore either.
Right.
And so, because they were starting to have more and more issues.
Hmm.
So I have a younger brother who had planned on moving back to Oklahoma. So we talked, and he and his wife ask dad if they could live in the guest room with mom and dad,
Okay.
because that while they built their house, because that totally changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
That's dad helping him. That's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
him helping dad. So it
Yeah.
spares dad's dignity, and it still helps him be the provider and the, family patriarch and all those things.
Yeah.
So my brother and sister-in-law moved into the guest room and just postponed building their house. And it was a great, tremendous blessing because they would take care of the night shift and I would take care of the day shift.
Hmm.
So that helped a lot because at the same time my mother-in-law started developing Alzheimer's.
Goodness.
And so she has 5 children, but apparently they had lives. And since I'm so good at caregiving, you know,
Yeah.
oh, I just the way we justify things just blows my mind sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but we went ahead and had her move in with us because I was spending every day on the phone just refereeing fights between her and her daughter because her daughter didn't understand the disease and could not accept the fact that when you have any form of dementia, the first thing that's attacked is the logic center of the brain.
Hmm.
So you can't rationalize with someone who has no logic anymore.
Right.
So you have to just let it go. And, the sky is purple. Yeah, isn't that nice? Look at those
Yeah.
little my mom told me one time, I was trying to get her in the house and it's freezing cold. We're on the porch and she won't go through the door. She's just keeps staring back and giggling. And so I'm like, "Mom, we need to get inside." And she said, "Well, look at those monkeys in the tree. They're so funny and they're so cute." So first off, we don't have a tree there. And and there's no monkeys in it for
That's
sure. And so
that's a great way to put it. We don't have a trailer. I thought you were
right,
gonna say,
right,
obviously no monkeys, but we
right.
don't even have a
No,
tree.
there's not even a tree. So you just have to smile, go with it, "Oh, yeah, they're really cute." And then
Yeah.
I thought, "You know what? It's freezing out here. I bet those monkeys are cold. Let's go inside and get them a coat so that they can wear." And so mom, it makes perfect sense. She's like,
Hmm.
"Okay, let's go inside." So once you go through the door, then she's forgotten and the monkeys are gone and we're inside the warm house. But that's what you do a lot as a caregiver is improvise. You got to learn
Yeah.
improv. You gotta be great at improv. You gotta be a great detective because you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out what on earth they're talking about
Hmm.
and if there's any logic in it. And so it's pretty challenging. So then I
Yeah.
had the 3 of them: mom with vascular dementia, dad with Parkinson's, and my mother-in-law with Alzheimer's.
Wow.
So, the creek was deep.
Yeah. Yes. This is quite a shit creek right here.
Yeah, it was hard. It was tough. With Alzheimer's, my mother-in-law had drastic mood swings, and so this sweet little precious woman who never said a bad word is suddenly cussing like a sailor and throwing things at me and hitting me. It's
Wow.
just bizarre, when I try to talk to her children about it, they think I'm nuts because mom would never do that.
Right.
She doesn't. And you're right. Mom wouldn't, but Alzheimer's will.
Yeah.
It's you gotta separate the person from the disease because the disease takes over, and she is a sweet and loving and kind person, but Alzheimer's causes her to do all these crazy things.
That's a
So
really good way to put that. I've never heard it like that, but that does that give you almost like more of a sense of controllables and uncontrollables? It's like I can
Yes.
adapt to these situations, but I may not be able to force them to understand. So, wow,
Yeah.
that is,
And you
yeah,
also
that's,
that way you don't develop resentment against that loved one because you
uh,
recognize it's not them, it's the
yeah,
disease. So,
wow, yeah.
when my mother-in-law told me, "I'd sell you, but nobody'd pay for you." And I just laughed and I'm like, "I'm sorry," you know? But
Well,
but you know what? She loved me. She would never say anything like that to me.
right.
We were very close. So you just let it go. Don't let it hurt your feelings. Don't be upset.
Yeah.
It's the disease. It's not them.
Yeah. That's really important. That's
It
really
is.
important. Because I imagine, you're seeing this person that you know a certain way, acting different, almost,
Mhm.
coming towards you, acting aggressive towards you,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
only trying to help. I
Right.
think the temptation a lot of times for caregivers or family members is like, this is over my head. I'm not going to do this,
Right. Right.
until someone has to step in and actually learn how it works, how to work with a
Mhm.
patient, how to work with the disease, and how to remember the person who, is in there as well.
Right. Right.
That's,
I spent a lot of time researching, interviewing doctors and nurses because the really sad thing is that people will be handed a dementia diagnosis
hmm
and then just, there's no cure. It's going to kill them in the end. It's going to steadily get worse. Okay, so I'll see you in a month. And and the people are like, "What? What are you talking
yeah,
about? Give me some help."
yeah,
And that's where I come in because my story changed when my dad had already passed away and my mother-in-law was passing in our guest room here at the house, and I had hospice come in much later than I should have because I just didn't know any better.
right.
And when they came in, they saw the bed alert system that my husband and I created. They saw the door safety system. They saw all these things. And the little hospice nurse said, "Where did you read about that stuff?" And I laughed. I'm like, "I didn't read about it anywhere. The stuff on the market did not work for us, so I made something that did." And she said the words that changed the trajectory of my life because she said, "Other caregivers need to know about this. This would really help them."
Yeah,
And I was just floored because I thought everybody else has it figured out. I'm the only one over here flailing. Everybody else
right.
knows what they're doing. It's just me. I'm not doing something right. I don't know enough. Maybe I said something I shouldn't have. And caregivers do that. They really beat themselves up
hmm
thinking that something they have done is what's causing these crazy reactions and things. And it's not. It's not
Right.
you at all. It's the disease that's causing this. So education is so very important. But
Yeah,
when she said that, and it just hit me, and I'm a Christian, and so I prayed about it, and I went to bed that night, and when I woke up the next morning, I knew, okay, this is why I went through this so that I can help other people.
yeah.
And so that's when I started writing my first book, which was Caregiving: How to Hold On While Letting Go.
And that is a international bestseller, isn't it?
Well, that one's not,
That
but
one's not. Oh,
it
sorry.
should have been, but I didn't know how to launch them then. It was my first one, and I
Yeah, yeah.
didn't
I
know
mean,
anything about it at all. I just made it and put it on Amazon and like, okay, hopefully it'll do well.
yeah,
So I didn't know. And again, it comes back to education and knowledge. You don't know what you don't know when you're
right.
starting. You don't
Yeah,
even know what questions to ask. You don't know much of anything, but you need all this guidance and support. And so that's what I do for caregivers. And I'm very honest and open with, hey, I tried this. It did not work. It was
right.
not a good move. Don't do it. There's plenty of mistakes out there. Make your own. Don't make mine.
That's funny. Yeah. Do you remember one mistake that maybe you could share that was like, oh,
Oh,
I thought that would go well, but that did not go well.
oh my goodness. There's so many. I mean, I made tons of mistakes. I just, I'm, I just, you'll know. Anyway, sure. There's a lot. One, that was really funny, I decided because my mom and mother-in-law both hated going to the doctor.
Yeah.
And so part of this was genius, I think, because I told my mother-in-law that we were going to take mom to the doctor and just
Uh-huh.
pretend like it's for her so that mom would go along. So
Uh-huh.
she says, "Oh, okay, I can do that," because they were good friends. So then I go to my mom and I said, "Oh, we're gonna take Jean to the doctor, but she's really worried about it, so we're gonna act like it's for you, okay?"
Okay.
And she says, "Okay, sure. This is fine." So I'm like, "This is brilliant. I'm feeling so good about myself."
Yeah.
So I get them around, which is wonderful. Get them both in the car, which that's a whole story on that. But we finally get in the car and get them both in the car. And so then I'm trying to get into the doctor's office. Well, my mom is always looking down. So she's looking at every crack in the sidewalk and how interesting it is and the little shell over here, and she's walking so slow. And so I have to hang on to both of them because one will just take off, and Jean went through spurts of just boom, she's full on going out in the street really fast, and you gotta hang on to her to keep her
Yeah.
back, and mom, you gotta kinda drag her and
Yeah.
go, come on, let's go." So, it just was such a struggle, and we finally got there, and so they were both having blood drawn, and I took a picture of the 2 of them sitting there having blood drawn, and I said, "2 for 1 sale at the doctor's office." People were
That
like, "What, really? Oh gosh, that's great," and I was going, "No, it's just my weird sense of humor." I was
yeah.
excited. But, yeah, they were both mad at me when they found out that
Oh, really?
that it was for the other one. But it still, it worked.
You
And
got there. Yeah.
it got us there.
Mhm.
And so, and caregivers, I think the thing that we do a lot too is that we have such high expectations. And I know I did because I led this big team and I had very high standards
Yeah.
and I expected things to be done a certain way. And I had a full team of adults who knew what I expected and worked excellently, did a great job. And all of a sudden, I have 3 people who don't even have a logical brain, who couldn't care less what I want them to do, and
Mhm.
just not, just not going to cooperate. And so it's like, oh my gosh, it's such a change. And well, one time I was trying to get my mother in law, I was trying to take her to the doctor. I had a friend taking care of mom. And so I put her in a wheelchair to keep control of her really more than anything else. And she wasn't steady at that point either. And so
Got
we
it.
had to take an elevator to go up to the doctor's office. And so we got up there just fine. But when we were getting ready to leave, the elevator doors open and she sticks both her feet out against the sides of the door and she goes, "I'm not going in there." And "Yes, you are. We have to go down.
Yeah.
You have to get in here." And she's just yelling, doctor's offices, not really loud places. They're very quiet.
Right.
So
Right.
so I realize, okay, I need to turn her backwards. So I pull her back and turn the wheelchair around, start backing up, and the doors close and the elevator's gone. So, push the button, wait again. The elevator comes back again, and I'm like, okay, here we go. I got her backwards. We got to go in here into this elevator so that we can get down. It's gonna be fine. And both of her arms go out to the side, and she grabs a hold of the door. No, just like at that point, the kindness is pretty much gone, and I'm like, let go of the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to go.
Those are good examples for sure.
Yeah. Oh.
That's really funny. Yeah, I wanna speak for all the patients out there. I was, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but when you're going through it and you're like the patient and you're just kind of lost in the situation, um, you're very cautious about who's coming around you, or at least I was, or at least who I'm taking advice from, right? Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty stubborn. I want to be in control, all this kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of caregivers, I believe, and we kind of talked about this earlier, end up being bitten by the patient or struck out at or whatever it may be attacked. The caregivers get it more than anyone. More
Yes.
than the doctors, more than the
Yes.
nurses, more than it's the caregivers, and the caregivers are literally the people trying to feed them,
Right.
but
Right.
they're also the closest, and if that person who's the patient is in a bad mood or feels venomous and needs to strike, they'll strike at the person who's trying to feed them. And it
Exactly.
seems very unfair. It does.
Oh, yeah.
It seems unfair, and I know a lot of caregivers say, they would do it for me or, I hope somebody would do it for me or something like that, but it's
Mhm.
tough when someone is actively fighting you as you're trying to help them. I mean, it is
It
tough
is. It
to
is
hang in
very
there
hard.
mentally,
Yeah.
and, the what we hear a lot about is, caretaker burnout, where it's they get to a limit and they're like, "I don't know if I can continue this." Do you
Right.
find a lot of people coming to you in those moments? Like, "I am just overwhelmed. I don't know what to
Yes.
do." D
Yes.
how do
Absolutely.
and how
Absolutely,
would you
because people feel like, you feel like you're all alone and there's no help available, but that's not true. There is help available, and there are
good.
programs. It's different for each state,
Mhm,
but there are programs available. There's respite care available. Many times it's free of charge. So you don't have to worry about paying for it either. You can get help. Even
awesome.
if even if you didn't want to do any of that, I help caregivers find ways of getting help, which is what I had to do
Yeah,
because I couldn't get help from family. They were all working and had things going on. The ones that weren't working had kids and had things to do and whatever. But I realized one day that at my church, I had some little ladies that were sweet and kind, still cognitively aware, but they didn't drive anymore,
mhm.
and it clicked and I put 2 and 2 together, and so I called one up and I said, "Hey, would you like to come watch a movie with mom and my mother-in-law?" And she says, "Well, I would, but I don't drive." And I said, "That's fine. We'll come get you." And so I loaded my 2 ladies up. We drove over, picked up the other lady, and took them back to the house. I sat all 3 of them down on the couch, give them each their glass of iced tea, start the movie, and I have an hour and a half to do whatever I wanna do
Yeah, which is
right there.
important. Yeah,
Yes,
because
yes, it's like a vacation.
I think, like, at first off, I've never been a caretaker the way that you've been a caretaker, so I think my ignorance is like, "Oh, I think I could probably do it." What is it? It can't be that hard. I'm gonna feed someone,
Uh,
I'm gonna put them in bed, I'm just gonna make sure they're okay. It's
yeah,
beyond that. It's
it's
actually taking
way beyond that.
control of their life and being like, "No, you're not." It's more about saying no than it is
Yes.
yes, and trying to
Yeah.
get this person to stay safe and manageable, and even an hour and a half is a blessing, I would
Oh, it
guess,
is. It's
because
a huge blessing. I mean,
yeah,
5 minutes is a blessing. And
yeah,
so when you get an hour and a half, it's like a vacation. It's
yeah,
fantastic. It was the best
mhm,
thing in the world. And the thing about it too, it helped that little lady because it made her feel useful and necessary again. She was
mm,
helping me. She was providing me a service. So it helped me, it helped her, it helped my mom and my mother-in-law because they had a new person to talk to who
yeah,
was closer to their age and they just thought they were having a party. So they loved it. So,
wow.
it was fantastic. It's a great thing to do.
You keep mentioning that, like, ways to empower the
Mhm.
patient rather than limit the patient, the
Yes.
how you can kind of put them in the scenario, which is
Mhm.
amazing because I maybe one of the things that would be most heartbreaking, I would assume, is if a person were to start feeling kinda like they're not contributing or
Right.
they don't have a lot of
Useless.
feel worth, yeah, so putting that back on them is amazing, and they're helping. That's
Mhm.
such a good idea. I mean, that's
Oh,
magic right there.
it is. It is. It helps so much. And the problem is you need to be creative when you're a caregiver. But when you're a caregiver, you are stressed out.
Yeah.
When you're stressed, you're wearing your shoulders like earrings, you're drawn up, and
Yeah,
so you're tense, all your muscles are tight. So you're
yeah,
limiting the oxygen supply to the brain, but you need the oxygen supply to be able to come up with a creative solution. And
yeah,
so that's where you run into so much trouble. So that's why it works well for caregivers. I tell them, call me, let's have a Zoom chat. I love Zoom chats because I can talk to anybody anywhere.
yep,
Also because they don't have to get their loved one out and they don't have to go
mhm,
through all that. I know what a hassle that is. Been
yeah,
there, done that. It's a
yeah,
nightmare just to try to go to an appointment.
yeah,
And so I don't wanna add to their stress, I wanna lower it. So
man,
schedule a time when your loved one usually takes a nap, when somebody's over having lunch with them, or whatever the case may be, because I'm not stressed about your situation. I can help you find solutions. And
yeah,
since I've been through it 3 times as a primary caregiver and 2 other times as a backup caregiver. I've had a lot of experience in it, and I've seen a lot of things, and then since getting turning my business and starting my business, which I'm kinda sidetracking here because I realized I forgot even that part of it. Um, so after I wrote my first book, that's when I formed my company, The Purple Vine,
Okay.
and purple is the color for Alzheimer's,
Yep.
vine because I'm a gardener, and dementia is not linear. It twists and curves and goes back on itself and changes direction like a vine.
Okay.
And also because John 15:5 in the Bible says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He that
Hmm.
abideth in me bears much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. And I fully believe that because I would not have survived caregiving if it weren't for God.
Yeah.
It was just way too hard, way too
Hmm.
difficult. So the Purple Vine has blog posts on it. There's a lot of blog information to help people. It has all the books that I've written and stuff and resources that are available. It has free
Awesome.
gifts and things for caregivers. I do an email list that goes out one time a week because caregivers don't have time to read an email every day.
Right.
And I know that.
Hmm.
And so I don't do this long, fluffy email either. I cut to the chase and say, hey, we've learned this. We know this helps. We know that helps. Try this. And so I give them actionable information that they can use
Yeah.
to make their life safer, easier, better, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
and just to really reduce their stress, because that's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
Stress is damaging and it's horrible. And too many caregivers, particularly dementia caregivers, are dying before the person they're caring for because
Really?
of stress. Yes, it's horrible. The
That is.
statistic is insane. It's like 62% are dying before the person they're caring for if it's dementia. Dementia is a particularly hard one because you have this slow and steady decline and you're losing that person, that relationship, the skill set, because it's not just memory, it's abilities
Yeah.
and it's dexterity and it's hearing and it's understanding and it's all the things. It's just you're watching that person slowly disappear right in front of your eyes. And then they forget who you are.
Hmm.
And it's hard. It's just such a hard thing.
Yeah.
So caregivers need support. It is not made to be a solo journey. You need to get support, and support is available.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just don't know where to look. So call me, I'll help you.
Yeah. And all your information is going to be in the bio of the episode. So anyone listening or watching, make sure you reach out to Debbie because she is a great resource. And if this doesn't apply to you right now, keep it in mind because it will one day.
It will. It
It
will.
will one day. Someone in your
Mhm.
family, someone close to you is going to end up being in a situation where they need help and you may end up being the person who's close enough or has the ability in that moment in time to help, you know. It's not usually something you plan on. I think you mentioned that
Right.
earlier. I think you
Right.
said like 90% don't plan on it. And so
Right.
it seems like it must happen fast. It's a quick
Yes.
change and it's a total change.
A
It's not
total
just
change that happens immediately, and
yeah.
the statistics for 2026 is that 1 in every 3 persons is a caregiver.
Wow.
Huge, because the baby boomers are aging. The
Yeah.
biggest risk factor for Alzheimer's is old age, and
Mhm.
we're living longer. And
Yeah.
so more caregivers are being created every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And so that's why, I have 2 books, The Caregiver's Advocate,
mhm.
volumes 1 and 2 are out right now. Those are the international bestsellers.
Got it.
Yay! I'm so proud and so
Good
excited
job.
about those.
That's
I
awesome.
gathered 21 individuals from 4 countries to write one chapter on something they wish they would have known at the beginning of the journey, of the caregiving journey. And so we hear from doctors, lawyers, elder law attorneys, financial experts, consultants, social workers, death doulas, family caregivers, wives taking care of husbands, parents taking care of children, all different situations. And it's not all just dementia. Dementia is my specialty,
Okay.
but the book is not. It's just caregivers. And, my goal was to hit number 1 in at least one category of the US. And
Mhm.
we hit number 1 in all 6 categories in the US, number 1 in
Nice.
Canada, number 1 in Australia, top 50 in the UK. So excited because people are hungry for this information. They need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it's not fluff, it's not theory, it's not the things I learned when I got my certifications.
Right.
It is, "This is what I learned in the trenches.
Yeah.
This is what will work for you. This
Yeah,
is what you need to
actionable
try."
steps. Yeah, you said that
Yes.
earlier, actionable steps where you can
Yeah.
actually, instead of pondering on it, it's actually take this next step, which is
Right.
important.
And not saying, "Think about what you might be able to do." No, "Try this." Boom.
Mhm. Yeah,
And the last chapter of the book is a resource chapter, nothing but resources available to caregivers.
awesome.
And, I had so many people saying, "Well, why didn't you write about this topic, and why didn't you write about that one?" And I was like, "Because it's one book. You can't put
Yeah,
everything in one book."
right.
So, quickly discovered we needed to do the volume 2, and
Mhm.
so we did that, covered all different topics in support of caregivers again, had 3 returning authors, and then gathered a bunch more from
Wow.
different countries again around the world, and it did the same thing. It just blew up, and number 1
Wow.
in all 6 categories of the US, number 1 in the UK this time, number 1 in Canada, um, and so Amazon number 1 new release, and then it's won 2 international literary awards.
Wow.
So, pretty proud of
Wow.
that.
I
Yeah,
bet you should be.
it's
That's
amazing,
amazing. You
and
saw a need and you stepped into it.
yes, and volume 3 will be released July 21st, 2026.
Wow. All
And I have a
right.
gentleman from Nigeria in that one, eh,
Beautiful.
because
Yeah.
it's so different there,
It's
so very
it's
different.
Yeah, but it's also interesting to know that not only people in the US are going through it, but the whole world. You know,
The
we're
whole
all ending
world.
up in these pivotal moments in life where things shift, where
Yes,
what was the parent now needs the help of the child, and it's an awkward shift, you know what I mean?
yes,
It's weird when you see like when I saw my dad like old and like sick and unable to do a lot because he's the guy who saved me in every situation my whole life.
right,
So it's
right.
it's it's an odd thing, but,
Yeah, it's
w
hard
if
to
you meet
navigate
yeah,
role reversal, and
exact
you change. You suddenly you go from being the child to being the parent.
yeah, yeah, and it is amazing as that process happens, you can actually see how the parent begins to trust you more sometimes. Yes, I'm sure
Right.
there's scenarios where they're like, "You're ri" and it's just a
Yeah.
terrible scenario, but I watched in my dad, him listening to me more because he
Mhm.
trusted more that I was going to take care of him.
Right.
Just like bits ju
Yep.
and that would just be like a doctor's visit, a hospital quick visit, just something small, or
Mhm.
yeah, the idea of him not wanting to go and just explaining how, like, it was important and we need to do this, which is a total reversal, when it comes to a parent to a child, to a child to a
Mhm.
parent, or at least it was for me. But
Right.
eventually, there is somewhat of a shift, and I could feel it where he was allowing me to do more,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. I think he had
Yeah,
decided.
absolutely. My
Yeah.
parents did that as well, and, with mom and my mother-in-law, it was so funny because, I was doing everything for them and helping them do everything and have active lives. It took them both to get their hair cut at the same time, and, that was fun too.
That's a day.
I know. It's like, I don't drink, maybe I should start. I don't know.
No,
It was
that's
wild, but we had a lot of fun, but I would be they would either love me or hate me.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
when one would get mad at me, the other one generally would too, and I'm just like, "Oh boy, okay."
yeah,
But distraction is works wonders
yeah,
because you know, I learned to take advantage of the fact that they had no real memory.
yeah, yeah,
So they're completely mad and ticked off. Go out of the room. Give them some space, go out of the room, come back in with some candy or jello or something that they like, and it's all brand new again and you're okay again.
yeah.
So I'm like, "Okay, good."
I will say from a patient standpoint, when I was at my worst was when I was panicking.
Yeah.
When I was the most scared is when I was at my worst, when I didn't understand what was going on. People were making decisions for me. I don't want to do these things. Why am I having to do them? I don't understand them. What's going on? And you just become kind of like a handful to deal with
Right.
in those scenarios. And it's tough. So it takes a lot of
Right.
patience, a lot of
Yeah.
grace. You must
Mhm.
have a very, very loving heart. You must look for, we try to coach people to, instead of going out and look for the things that are wrong with the world, try to look for the things that are going right Although there's
Oh,
less of
yes.
them, it appears initially at first, it changes your day, and it changes your mindset because 'cause you're able to see the beauty compared to just focused on the darkness. Is it so
Exactly.
that's kind of it sounds like that's what you're saying too. It's like you
Mhm.
just keep moving, appreciate the good times, push past
I
the bad
do.
times, and
I do. And that's what I
yeah,
tell caregivers because when you feel like you're down and out, you can't go any further, you can't do any more. I've been there. I've
yeah,
done that. I mean, as a matter of fact, I did run away. I didn't know caregiver burnout was a thing, but I experienced it full on
yeah,
and couldn't get the help that I needed. Couldn't find, I told people I needed help. They didn't really hear me. I
right,
didn't make my case well enough, I guess, or something. They
yeah,
didn't realize how bad it was.
yeah,
And so I made a binder and listed all of her medications and times and the foods that she liked to eat and the movies she liked to watch and her favorite snacks and all that stuff. Put all the medical contact information and things in there. And then I created a schedule of she'll be at this house for 3 days and then you take her to that house for 3 days and then you take her to that house for 3 days. And I took her to the first house and dropped her off and went and got on a plane and went to North Carolina to visit my son.
yeah. You're like,
And
"I'll
I
be
was
right back."
gone. Yep. I was like, "Y'all have fun. I'll be back in maybe in 10
Yeah.
days, maybe."
And at that point, it probably seemed essential, like, I have to do this. This isn't,
I did.
it
Yeah.
wasn't just like, "Oh, maybe today I'll go somewhere." It was like,
No.
"Oh my"
I
like,
felt like I was gonna die if I didn't
yeah,
get away.
yeah,
I was the end of my rope emotionally, physically, everything. Spiritually, I was just down and out. I had given everything because she
yeah.
was up all through the night and my mom was up all through the day. When are you
Mm,
supposed to sleep?
right.
You can't get any rest. And if you can't get any rest, things just get worse. And then
Yeah.
you do start focusing on all the negative.
Mhm,
And so that's where I coach caregivers now to write down 3 things every day that you're thankful for, or
mhm.
3 things that something funny that happened. And I really try to get them to see the funny in it, see the humor in it,
Yeah.
laugh about it. Because if
Mhm.
you can laugh about it, laughter's a great stress reducer as well.
Oh, yeah.
And, I was getting mom and Jean ready. I took them both to get eye doctor appointments this time. So I just don't learn. I don't.
I was about to say, well, that's such a great comment. I just don't learn.
I know. Oh, well, it's still, I'm thinking efficiency saves time, take them both. Oh my goodness. So I get mom fully dressed and she was in the bathroom, got her fully dressed in there. I go out and get my mother-in-law and I get her dressed and we come out of the bedroom and my mom's in her pajamas again. And I'm like, what happened? But I had forgotten to take the pajamas out of the bathroom. And so she
Uh,
doesn't know she has dementia. She's in the
right,
bathroom, she looks around, she sees her pajamas. Oh, it must be time to put on the pajamas. So she changed back into her pajamas. And
right.
I'm like, "Ah," and so you got to back up from that in a moment and go, you know what? This would be funny if it was happening to somebody else.
Yeah,
So that's the key.
yeah.
It's not me. Learn to laugh about it. Laugh about it
Mhm.
because it's really funny. It would make a great movie because it was
Yeah,
just so ridiculous. I wound
yeah.
up having them both in the living room and dressing both of them in the living room and making them sit on the couch and don't go anywhere so I could get them both dressed.
And what
Oh,
I've found is it's really funny that, like, if you take that moment and you're like, "This is actually pretty funny,"
mhm.
um, yeah, definitely it takes the gas out of the situation and you're just like, "Okay, whatever." But then
Yeah.
I've actually found myself as my spiritual, like, growth has continued, I've started to realize that God is actually pretty funny.
Oh,
And
hilarious.
and it's and he's part of all this, and it's just like
Yes.
it's really funny. It's, like, drawn me closer to him. I'm like, "You're pretty funny. You're pretty funny. I needed that." And if you start
There,
seeing those things, you're like, "Oh, wow." And then you feel
how
like you're less alone. Yeah.
exactly. How funny is it? You take somebody who's highly organized, got teams running efficiently, effectively, likes everything on time and all just snapping according to be, and then you got chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll
Yeah.
stretch you.
That's funny. I guess you had a lesson you needed to learn or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say that, it turns out I need
It
to learn this lesson, and I thought I was
the
learning this
lesson
lesson, but I
yeah,
was going over here.
the
And now
lesson
you're
was
helping
let
people
go
do
of
it.
yeah, and the lesson is let go of perfectionism and
Yeah.
trust God because he's in control.
Amen.
You
Amen.
don't go through things for an accident. Things don't happen on accident. I went through that so that I can empathize with other caregivers and
Yeah.
I can relate to them. And generally, I've had a deeper creek than they are in because they
Mhm.
usually are dealing with one at a time, and I had three.
Right.
And so, it gives me a certain amount of credibility
Yeah.
to say, "Hey, you know what? I survived this. You can too.
Yeah.
Let me teach you what I learned. I can cut your learning curve by years." Because my mother-in-law had Alzheimer's for about 7.5 years,
Mhm.
and my dad had Parkinson's for about 8 years. My mother, who was the very first one to be diagnosed, was also the very last one to pass away, and she had vascular dementia for 21 years.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah,
I didn't know that could happen. I thought it was like a shorter span, but wow, I
most
didn't know
people
that.
do. Yep. That's why when
Oof.
people come up to me and say, "Well, I have a diagnosis, how long can I expect to live?" Well, I don't know. How long did you expect to live before? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
only God knows that. Doctors
Yeah.
don't know. People don't know.
Right. That's
21
so
years.
true.
And she was very happy. She just was a happy little camper. And she loved everybody, and, I think that was part of it too that was such a blessing because my mother-in-law was upset, she knew things were wrong, she knew she couldn't remember things, it bothered her, it stressed her out, stress makes the disease progress faster. My
Oh,
dad knew that he could not add numbers like he used to, he knew he wasn't remembering things like he used to, it stressed him out, he also went faster. My mom she didn't even realize she had dementia and she couldn't remember anything. So
really?
she's just like, "Dee, dee, dee," you know?
Yeah, what a blessing. What a
Yeah,
blessing. I've actually thought about that because I've reflected on how I was at a patient and you feel a lot of shame about it because you realize when
yeah,
you're healthy and you look back, you're like, these people were trying to help me. They actually were
right,
the only people trying to help me. If not for,
right.
you know what I mean? So there's a lot of shame on the patient side when you come out of that. Um, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable that a person would put their life on hold to help you. It's
Mhm,
hard to
and
understand that. Um,
that's love. You
yeah,
you don't do it if you don't love someone, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna make that sacrifice and step into that, and, all love comes from God, and then we just reflect what He gives to us.
yeah.
And I remember a particular time, because again, I just didn't know any better. My mother-in-law was just, having accidents in the bathroom 3 or 4
Mhm.
times a day. And here's a tip for caregivers. If you have a white toilet seat, a white toilet, and a white floor, they can't see anything. You need to have a brightly colored toilet seat if you
R
want them to hit it.
Really? I didn't know
Yes.
that. That's
Yeah, I
such
didn't
a good
either.
tip.
Yeah, yeah, I learned that one in my training because I just
Yeah.
couldn't figure out why she kept doing this. So, I'm on my hands and knees scrubbing the bathroom floor for the third time that day and then just crying, tears rolling. I'm thinking, I can't do this. I'm not made for this. How did it come to this? I just need to get out of here. I need to run away. And then I remembered the scripture. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world.
Mhm.
And I remembered I can do all things, even scrub this bathroom floor 3 times through Christ who gives me strength.
Yeah.
And so, his mercies are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. And what that means is you start every day fresh. Don't do a carryover. Caregivers, when the day is over, the day is done. Don't rehash it. Don't do, I wish I woulda, I coulda, I shoulda. Don't should all over yourself. Don't do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Just, it's over. It's past. Do better next time.
Yeah.
Try to improve from where you were at, but start each day fresh
Yeah.
because they will. Your loved one will.
Yeah.
They
That's a
don't
good
remember.
point. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. Do what they're doing. Start
Yeah, just
fresh.
forget about it. Yep, start fresh. Forget about it.
That's beautiful. Man,
Hmm.
it takes a lot of strength, takes a lot of courage,
Yeah.
and it's not recognized nearly enough, but caretakers are basically what gets us through our worst moments. I mean, if
Yes.
we if we didn't have caretakers, whether we were young and had a broken leg or old and have dementia, you need someone there for help. We want to believe that we can do everything on our own until
but
we
we
run
can't.
into that day and it's like, oh
Yes.
no,
Yeah. We
shoot.
were made we were made to live in community, and
Yeah,
we were made to take care of each other, and that's why we have the family to take care of each other, and family doesn't have to be blood, it can be chosen family
right.
to
Absolutely.
take
Yeah,
care. Mhm.
for sure. Yeah, it does not have to be your mom or dad. They're your
Mm-mm.
family because they are close to you. They don't have to
Mhm.
qualify with blood.
Right.
Debbie, you have given us so much good information. I feel like I would be a better caretaker just walking away from the convo, honestly. And it makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of fear, I know too. You know, you want to be a good caretaker. You don't want to be a bad caretaker. You want to do the right thing, but then at the same
Well,
time, you know, you feel like literally said you felt like you were dying because there's so much
mhm.
responsibility on you to take care of these people. And, you know, it's just like constantly pouring and not being refilled. So, you know, you got to that point, and I'm so glad you were able to get through it and kind of get back to it, and that you can speak to people about it. Again, all of Debbie's information is going to be in the bio. So anyone who's struggling as a caretaker, maybe even you have a friend you're watching struggle through this, being a caretaker, reach out on their behalf, see what Debbie can do for you. Definitely check out her books, especially that last chapter that's got the resources for people to use, and that's amazing. And besides that, Debbie, thank you so much for coming on Shit Creek Survivors and sharing all this great info with us. I think it's really valuable. Thank you for your vulnerability and willing to share what happened through your life so that other people could benefit from it. It makes a huge difference. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Shit Creek Survivors. Remember, we all have a Shit Creek story. Whether you're in the middle of your creek or you've just made it through or you're helping someone else get through theirs, you are not alone. If this episode encouraged you, please subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment. Until next time, keep paddling.